She saw the open window, walked in and said, "Can I cook for you in exchange for food?" Olivia Jenkins never imagined she would reach that point. 3 days without proper meals, wandering the streets of Cleveland, gazing at the houses in the upscale neighborhood where she once lived. Pride battled hunger, but necessity screamed louder. She spotted the slightly open kitchen window that Thursday afternoon and couldn't resist. She stepped in slowly, her heart pounding, when she found a black man in a suit standing in the middle of the kitchen. He froze at the sight of her, eyes wide with shock. "Please don't call anyone," Olivia said, her hands trembling. "I can cook for you in exchange for food." Dr. Nathan Parker, a businessman in the construction industry, took a few seconds to process what he was seeing. A thin woman around 40 years old, with messy brown hair and simple but clean clothes, had just broken into his home. Yet there was no aggression in her, only desperation. "How did you get in here?" he asked, still dazed. "The window was open," Olivia replied, lowering her eyes. "I know it was wrong, but I've only eaten crumbs for 3 days. If you have anything in the fridge, I can make a real meal. I promise I'll leave afterward." Nathan studied her carefully. There was something genuine in her plea. She didn't seem like a scammer or someone dangerous, just a hungry woman. "Can you really cook?" he asked, still wary. "I've been cooking since I was 12. Worked in restaurants my whole life." Nathan hesitated. His cook had quit the week before, and he'd been surviving on takeout for days. The fridge was nearly empty, just a few basic ingredients he didn't even know how to use. "All right," he finally said, "but you can only use what's in the fridge, and I'm staying right here to watch." Olivia felt tears welling up. She nodded quickly and headed to the fridge. There were a few eggs, a half-dried piece of cheese, some onions, an overripe tomato, and herbs that were already wilting. In the pantry, she found rice, olive oil, and basic spices. With precise, delicate movements, she got to work. She finally chopped the onion, sautéed it carefully, added the rice and seasoned it little by little. The aroma filling the kitchen made Nathan step closer without thinking. Olivia made a perfect omelette with the cheese, sliced the tomato neatly, and finished the rice with the herbs. In 20 minutes, she turned simple ingredients into a meal that looked like it came from a fine restaurant. "There," she said, serving the plate with an elegance that contrasted with her situation. Nathan picked up his fork and took a bite. The flavor hit him like a punch to the chest. It wasn't just delicious, it was familiar. Too familiar. It was identical to what Rebecca, his late wife, used to make in their early years of marriage, when they were still building their life together. "How did you—" he began, his voice choked. "How did you learn to cook like this?" "Like what?" Olivia asked, confused by his reaction. "Exactly like this. My wife used to make it the same way." At that moment, they heard the front door slam. Nathan remembered Deborah, the housekeeper, would be back from her day off around this time. "Dr. Nathan?" the woman's voice called out. "Are you here?" "I'm in the kitchen, Deborah," he replied, glancing at Olivia with a mix of panic and protectiveness. Deborah Williams, a 55-year-old woman who had worked in the house for over a decade, walked into the kitchen and stopped abruptly at the scene. "Who is this woman?" she asked, her voice thick with suspicion. "Dr. Nathan, what's going on here?" "Easy, Deborah. She was hungry and offered to cook in exchange for food. And you let a stranger into your house?" Deborah approached, looking Olivia up and down. "This is very dangerous. I'll call security." "There's no need," Nathan said quickly. "She didn't do anything wrong." "Didn't do anything wrong? She broke into the house?" Olivia shrank back, feeling humiliated. That sensation of being judged, of being seen as inferior, brought back all the painful memories of the last few months. "I'll leave now," she murmured, walking toward the window. "Wait," Nathan said. "Where will you sleep tonight?" The question caught Olivia off guard. She had no answer. She'd lost her rented room the week before for lack of payment and had been sleeping wherever she could since then. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. I'll figure it out, she replied, avoiding his gaze. Deborah, prepare the guest room. She can stay tonight. Dr. Nathan, the housekeeper protested, you don't know this woman. What if she steals something? What if she brings trouble? She won't steal anything, Nathan said with a firmness that surprised even himself. And if there's trouble, I'll handle it. Olivia turned, her eyes brimming with gratitude. Thank you, she whispered. I promise I won't be a bother. Deborah muttered something inaudible and stormed out of the kitchen. Nathan finished eating in silence, watching Olivia wash the dishes with the same care she'd used to cook. What's your name? He asked. Olivia Jenkins. Nathan Parker. And Olivia? Yes. Thank you for the meal. It's been a long time since I've eaten something like that. That night, lying in the comfortable bed of the guest room, Olivia cried for the first time in weeks, not out of despair, but relief. She'd found a bit of humanity in a world that seemed to have forgotten her. The next morning, she woke early and went down to the kitchen. Deborah was already there, preparing breakfast with a sour expression. Thought you'd have left during the night, the housekeeper said without looking at her. Dr. Nathan said, I could stay until this morning. Well, you'd better go soon. This kind of situation can't become a habit. Olivia nodded and went to the fridge. Nathan had left early for work, but had left money on the counter with a note. For ingredients. I'd like you to make dinner tonight as well. Deborah saw the note, and her face twisted in anger. This is ridiculous, she muttered. Dr. Nathan has lost his mind. Olivia ignored the comment and went out to shop at the neighborhood market. It felt strange to be back on those streets after so long. She'd once lived there, in a life that seemed like it belonged to someone else. At the market, she chose each ingredient carefully, thinking about what Nathan might like. She'd noticed he'd appreciated the simplicity of the previous night's meal, so she decided to keep it that way. When she returned, Deborah was waiting with an even more hostile expression. We need to talk, the housekeeper said. Dr. Nathan isn't here, so I can be frank. Go ahead. I know exactly what women like you want. You think you can take advantage of good, generous men, but I won't allow it. Women like me? Olivia asked, feeling her anger rise. Yes, desperate, down on your luck, showing up out of nowhere trying to exploit the situation. You don't know me well enough to say that. I don't need to. I've seen plenty like you. That's why I'll be watching. Anything strange, and I'll tell Dr. Nathan everything. Olivia took a deep breath, resisting the urge to snap back. She needed this place, at least for now. She couldn't afford to start conflicts. I just want to work, she said calmly. I have no ulterior motives. We'll see, replied Deborah before leaving the kitchen. The rest of the day passed in tension. Deborah watched Olivia's every move as she tried to focus on preparing dinner. Olivia decided to make a shrimp risotto, something more elaborate to showcase her skills. When Nathan arrived home, the aroma had already filled the air. He walked into the kitchen with a smile that hadn't appeared in months. This smells incredible, he said. I hope you like it, Olivia replied, serving the dish with the same elegance as the day before. Nathan took a bite and closed his eyes, savoring it. Once again, there was something in the seasoning that reminded him of Rebecca. It couldn't be a coincidence. Olivia, where did you learn to cook? From my father. He was the chef at a small restaurant right here in Cleveland. Since I was a child, I'd stay in the kitchen with him. What was the restaurant called? Flavor House. It closed about 10 years ago. Nathan nearly choked. Flavor House. He knew that place very well. It was where he used to take Rebecca on their first dates when they were still dating. The chef there, a man named Robert Jenkins, had taught Rebecca some recipes she later recreated at home. Robert Jenkins was your father? Yes. Did you know him? I did. In fact, he taught some recipes to my late wife. The two exchanged glances, the connection finally making sense. Fate had brought Olivia there in an almost poetic way. That's why the dishes remind me so much of her, Nathan murmured. I'm so sorry for your loss, Olivia said sincerely. Thank you. And I'm sorry about your father too. I heard the restaurant went through hard times before closing. Olivia's face darkened. It wasn't just hard times. It was sabotage. What do you mean? Someone spread rumors about the food quality, filed false complaints with the health department, convinced suppliers to cut off our credit. My father never found out who it was, but someone really wanted the restaurant to close. Nathan fell silent, processing the information. There was something very wrong about this story. Do you know who might have had an interest in that? At the time, my father suspected other restaurants in the area, but he could never prove anything. Deborah, who had overheard part of the conversation from the next room, felt a chill in her stomach. She knew the story of Flavor House all too well. She knew it intimately. In the following days, Nathan allowed Olivia to stay in the house, officially as a temporary cook. Deborah protested vehemently, but he was unyielding. Olivia's cooking was not only exceptional, but it brought back a sense of home he hadn't felt in years. Olivia, in turn, flourished in that environment. Having a well-equipped kitchen and quality ingredients at her disposal reminded her of Flavor House's golden days. She experimented with new recipes, perfected old dishes, and slowly regained her confidence. But Deborah didn't rest. She began creating small obstacles, hiding spices, forgetting to buy specific ingredients, questioning every expense Olivia made. The tension in the house grew by the day. One afternoon, as Olivia prepared a stew, Deborah walked into the kitchen with a strange expression. "I recognize you," she said suddenly. Olivia stopped stirring the pot and looked at the housekeeper. "What do you mean?" "Now I remember. You worked at Flavor House. I saw you there a few times." "That's possible. I worked there since I was a teenager." "Exactly. And I remember very well what happened to that place." There was something in Deborah's voice that made Olivia's skin crawl, a tone of knowing too much to be casual. "Did you work there too?" Olivia asked. "Not exactly, but I knew well what went on." Deborah turned and left, leaving Olivia with a terrible feeling in her stomach. There was something she wasn't telling. That evening, Nathan noticed Olivia was quieter than usual. "Did something happen?" he asked. "Deborah said she recognizes me from my father's restaurant, but there's something odd about how she said it." Nathan remembered something he had completely forgotten. Deborah had worked for him for a long time, but before being his housekeeper, she had worked elsewhere, including... "Olivia, what year did Flavor House close?" 2014. "Deborah started working here in 2015. She never told me much about her previous job, only that she worked at a restaurant." They exchanged glances, the same suspicion dawning on them simultaneously. "Do you think—" "I don't know, but we'll find out." Nathan went to his office and searched through old files for the documents from when he hired Deborah. He found the references she had provided at the time. One of them was from a restaurant called Home Spice, located just 2 blocks from Flavor House. "Olivia, do you know Home Spice?" "Of course, it was our biggest competitor. The owner was always jealous of Dad's success." The pieces were falling into place in a disturbing way. The next day, Nathan decided to investigate further. He called an acquaintance who worked in the food industry and asked for information about Home Spice. "Oh, that place," said the friend. "It closed about 2 years after Flavor House. The owner was involved in some shady practices. I heard he used employees to sabotage competitors." "What kind of sabotage?" "Fake complaints, rumors, even planting people in rival restaurants to cause internal problems." Nathan hung up with a heavy heart. Deborah had worked at Home Spice exactly when Flavor House was being sabotaged. When he got home that night, he found Olivia in the kitchen, but there was no smell of food. She was sitting at the kitchen table, crying. "What happened?" he asked, alarmed. "Deborah told me everything," Olivia sobbed. "She was part of the group that sabotaged my father's restaurant." Nathan felt anger rising but tried to control himself. "What exactly did she say?" "That she worked at Home Spice and was ordered to spread rumors about our restaurant. She said she had no choice, that she needed the job. But Nathan, because of that, my father lost everything. We lost everything." "Where is she now?" "She left. Said she needed to think about what to do." Nathan hugged Olivia, feeling her tremble with emotion. "We'll figure this out," he promised. Deborah returned the next morning, carrying a suitcase. Her face was swollen from crying. "Dr. Nathan, "I need to talk to you," she said. "I need to talk to you too." They sat in the living room with Olivia present. Deborah took a deep breath before speaking. "It's true, I worked at Home Spice when Flavor House was sabotaged, but I didn't know Olivia was Robert Jenkins' daughter. When I found out yesterday, I remembered everything." "And why didn't you say anything before?" Nathan asked. "Because I'm ashamed. I was young, desperate for the job. The owner of Home Spice promised me a promotion if I helped deal with the competition. I didn't know I'd destroy an entire family's life." Olivia was silent, tears streaming down her face. "What exactly did you do?" Nathan asked. "I spread rumors about the food quality, told people I'd seen rats in Flavor House's kitchen, made fake anonymous complaints to the health department. I even put dead roaches near the restaurant entrance once." "My God," Nathan murmured. "Mr. Robert was a good man," Deborah continued, now crying too. "He didn't deserve that. And when the restaurant closed, I saw how devastated he was. I saw his family struggling, but I couldn't turn back." "And then you came to work here," said Nathan. "Yes. Home Spice also closed shortly after, because people found out about the owner's shady dealings. I was unemployed, with no references. When I heard you were looking for a housekeeper, I lied about where I'd worked." Olivia finally spoke, her voice low and controlled. "Because of you, my father fell into depression. He was never the same after the restaurant closed. He spent the last years of his life blaming himself for something that wasn't even his fault." "I know," said Deborah, "and it's eaten at me for years. That's why when I saw you were a good cook, I got scared. Scared that Dr. Nathan would prefer you, that you'd find out who I was. You were trying to sabotage me again," Olivia realized. "Yes, hiding spices, creating difficulties, but I couldn't do it. When I saw you cooking with so much love, it reminded me of why I admired your father back then." Nathan stayed silent for a long moment, processing everything. "Deborah, you have to leave my house," he finally said. "I know I was already packing my things. But before you go, you'll do one thing. You'll tell this whole story to anyone who'll listen. You'll clear Robert Jenkins' name and Flavor House's." "How?" "I don't know. You figure it out. But you're not leaving here until you've made up for at least some of the harm you've done." Deborah nodded, knowing he was right. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. In the following days, Deborah began her own penance. She called former customers of Flavor House, telling them the truth about what had happened. She posted in neighborhood groups on social media, explaining the injustice Robert Jenkins had suffered. The response was immediate and strong. Many people remembered Flavor House fondly and were outraged to learn about the sabotage. Some even sought out Olivia personally to apologize for believing the rumors back then. One morning, Nathan found Olivia in the kitchen earlier than usual, stirring a pot of dulce de leche. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked. "I've been thinking about something. Deborah is trying to make up for the harm she caused, right? Maybe it's time for me to do something constructive with all this pain too. What do you have in mind?" "I want to reopen Flavor House." Nathan paused mid-pour as he served coffee. "Seriously? I have all my father's recipes. I can make everything he did, and I've learned many new things too. If I can find a small place to start." "Olivia, are you sure? Reopening a restaurant isn't simple. You need capital, permits, equipment." "I know, but I have to try. It's the only way to truly honor my father's memory." Nathan studied the determination on her face. It was the same expression Rebecca had when she set her mind to something important. "There's something I haven't told you yet," he said. "Besides the construction company, I invest in some small businesses, especially those with personal meaning." "Oh, I see," said Olivia, missing the hint. "What I'm trying to say is, if you really want to try, I can help. As an investor." Olivia nearly dropped the pot. "What do you mean?" "We can go into partnership. You bring the knowledge and recipes, I'll provide the startup capital. We'll split the profits." "Nathan, I can't accept something like that." "Why not?" "Because you've already done so much for me. I don't want you to think I'm taking advantage." "Olivia, look at me," said Nathan, touching her arm. Ever since you came here, this house has come alive again. I've started looking forward to coming home at the end of the day. It's not a favor. It's an investment in something I believe in." Olivia Jenkins had tears in her eyes again, but this time they were tears of hope. "Do you really think this can work?" "I do, and I'll tell you why. Remember when I said Rebecca learned to cook from her father?" "I remember." "Well, she always said Robert Jenkins was the best chef she knew, but that his daughter was even better. She saw you cooking a few times when you were younger." "Rebecca knew my wife?" "She did, and she always said that if you ever decided to open your own place, it would be a guaranteed success." Olivia covered her face with her hands, too emotional to speak. "So?" Nathan asked. "Shall we try?" "Let's do it," she replied, her voice trembling. The search for the perfect location took a few weeks. Nathan wanted something in the same neighborhood as the original Flavor House to keep the connection to its history. Finally, they found a small but charming spot that had once been a bakery and already had much of the necessary infrastructure. Deborah Williams, still making amends, helped spread the word. She knew many people in the neighborhood and went door to door talking about the reopening and asking them to give Olivia a chance. "She's Robert Jenkins' daughter," she explained to anyone who would listen. "She cooks just like her father, but even better. And this time no one will sabotage it because I won't allow it." Some people were confused by Deborah's fierce defense of someone, but she insisted on telling the whole truth about what had happened years ago. The restaurant renovation took 2 months. Nathan insisted on outfitting the kitchen with the best equipment, and Olivia chose every detail of the decor, wanting the place to feel as welcoming as the old Flavor House. During the renovation, something unexpected happened. A middle-aged man showed up at the site looking for Olivia. "Are you Olivia Jenkins?" he asked. "I am. Can I help you?" "My name is Frank Oliver. I heard you're reopening Flavor House." "That's right. Why?" Frank took a deep breath before answering. "I was your father's partner in the original restaurant." Olivia was stunned. Her father had never mentioned a partner. "What do you mean, partner? My father owned the restaurant alone." "Not exactly. I came in as a silent investor in its 2nd year. But when things started getting tough, I abandoned your father." "You pulled your investment?" "Worse than that. I took all the money from the restaurant's cash register. I said it was to cover my investments, but it was much more than that. I left your father with no working capital." Olivia's legs felt weak. Another painful revelation about the past. "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because I heard the whole story. What Deborah did, how you suffered, and because I can't live with this guilt anymore." "And what do you want now?" "I want to return the money, with interest, and I want to help with the new restaurant if you'll let me." Nathan, who had just arrived, overheard the conversation and stepped closer. "How much money are we talking about?" he asked. "Back then it was 50,000. Today, with adjustments and interest, it would be around 200,000. "And you have that money?" "I do. I've invested well over the years, but the money isn't the most important thing. It's the chance to make up for my mistake." Olivia looked at Nathan, seeking guidance. "It's your decision," he said. "But everyone deserves a second chance." "All right," Olivia finally said, "but I have one condition." "What is it?" "You'll work here as a regular employee. You'll wash dishes, clean tables, do whatever I say. And only after some time, if you prove you've really changed, can we talk about other ways you might be involved." Frank nodded immediately. "I'll accept any condition." The opening of the new Flavor House was scheduled for a Friday in December. The anticipation in the neighborhood was high, especially after everything that had been revealed. The night before the opening, Olivia Jenkins barely slept. She was anxious, excited, and terrified all at once. Nathan Parker noticed her tension and offered to go with her to the restaurant for one last check. "Everything is perfect," he said, looking around. "Your father would be proud." "You really think so?" "I'm sure of it. Rebecca would be too." Olivia smiled sadly. "I wish so much they could be here to see this. Maybe they're watching from somewhere." On opening day, lines began forming even before the restaurant opened. Deborah Williams stood at the door, guiding the flow of people and telling anyone who would listen the story of redemption behind the place. Olivia, in the kitchen, prepared the dishes with a small but dedicated team. Frank Oliver was washing dishes, keeping his promise exactly. The first customer to enter was an elderly man who went straight to the counter. "Are you Robert's daughter?" he asked. "I am. Did you know my father?" "I did. I came here many times with my late wife. She always said Robert's food tasted like home." "Thank you," Olivia said, moved. "I'd like to order exactly what I always had, his shrimp risotto." Olivia smiled. It was one of the dishes she knew best. "It'll be ready in 15 minutes. When the dish was done, Olivia personally brought it to the man's table. He took a bite and closed his eyes, just as Nathan had done on that first night. "This is it," he said, tears falling. "This is exactly it. You cook just like your father, young lady." Word spread quickly among the customers. One after another, people tried the dishes and recognized the authentic flavors of the original Flavor House. By the end of the first day, there was a waiting list for the coming weeks. Olivia could hardly believe the success. "How was it?" Nathan asked when she got home, exhausted but radiant. "It was perfect. Better than I imagined." "Congratulations. You deserve all this happiness." "We deserve it," she corrected. "None of this would have been possible without you." Nathan smiled, but there was something different in his expression. "Olivia, can I ask you something personal?" "Of course." "Have you ever been married?" The question caught Olivia off guard. They had spent months together but never talked about past relationships. "I was, a long time ago." "Why do you ask?" "Just curious." "What happened?" Olivia was silent for a moment, as if deciding whether to share. "He left me when my father's restaurant closed. Said he couldn't stay with someone from a failed family." "What kind of man does that?" "The kind who only loves when it's convenient." Nathan nodded, understanding another layer of the pain Olivia had carried. "And you?" she asked. "How long has it been since Rebecca?" "Since she passed." 3 years. Cancer. It was very fast." "I'm so sorry." "Thank you. It was hard, but I don't know, lately I felt like life is starting to make sense again." They looked at each other, a different tension rising between them. "Nathan?" "Yes?" "Thank you. For everything. For trusting me. For giving me a chance. For believing in the restaurant dream. You don't have to thank me, you're the one who brought life back to this house." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing, the following months brought steady growth for Flavor House. The restaurant quickly became one of the most sought after in the area, and Olivia had to expand the team. Frank faithfully completed his penance, working humbly and proving his change. After 6 months, Olivia promoted him to dining room manager, recognizing his dedication. Deborah also found her place in the new dynamic. Nathan kept her as the housekeeper, but she began dedicating some of her free time to helping at the restaurant, always telling customers the true story of what had happened years ago. One afternoon, as Olivia tested a new recipe, Nathan walked into the kitchen with a worried expression. "I need to tell you something," he said. "What is it?" "Yesterday I got a strange call, a man asking about you, wanting to know if it was true that you were running a restaurant." "What man?" "He said he was your ex-husband." Olivia nearly dropped the pan she was holding. Her ex-husband, Christopher Peters, hadn't been in touch for over 10 years. "What did he want?" "He didn't say clearly. Just asked if you were doing well now. He must have seen something about the restaurant on social media." "Probably." "Olivia, do you think he could cause trouble?" "I don't know. Christopher was always very opportunistic. If he found out the restaurant is doing well, they didn't have to wait long to discover Christopher's intentions. The following week, he showed up at Flavor House during business hours. Olivia was in the kitchen when Frank came to get her. "There's a man out there who says he's your ex-husband. He wants to talk to you." "Let him wait a little," Olivia said, trying to calm herself. When she finally stepped out of the kitchen, she found Christopher sitting at a corner table, looking very well off. He wore expensive clothes and a fancy watch on his wrist. "Hi, Olivia," he said, standing up with a smile she remembered all too well. "Christopher, what are you doing here?" "I came to see how you're doing. I heard about the restaurant's success. After 10 years without a word, you show up because you heard I'm doing well. Don't be like that. I always cared about you. You cared so much, you left me at the worst time of my life." Christopher glanced around, assessing the restaurant's bustle. "Well, what's done is done. The important thing is that you're doing well now. And married to a wealthy businessman, from what I heard. Nathan and I aren't married. We're business partners at the restaurant." "Oh, I see. Just partners," he said with a sly smile. "What do you want, Christopher?" "To sit and talk. Aren't you going to offer me a meal?" Reluctantly, Olivia sat at the table with him, signaling for a waiter to bring the menu. "I heard the whole story," Christopher said as he skimmed the menu. "About what happened to your father's restaurant, the injustice you suffered. It must have been very hard." "It was. And I also heard you were struggling before you got this job." "How did you hear that?" "I have my connections. The important thing is you've overcome everything now." Christopher ordered the most expensive dish on the menu and ate with exaggerated pleasure, theatrically praising every bite. "It's delicious, Olivia. You've always been an exceptional cook. I still remember the meals you made for me." "Do you really? Because when you left, you said my cooking tasted like poverty." "Oh, Olivia. I was upset, hurt. I said things I didn't mean. And what do you want now?" Christopher leaned forward, lowering his voice. "I want you back." Olivia almost laughed at his audacity. "Are you out of your mind?" "No, I'm serious. Olivia, I made a terrible mistake when I left you. I haven't stopped thinking about you all these years. Funny, it didn't seem like you were thinking of me when you left me with nothing. I was immature. Now I'm a different man. And married. Divorced. It didn't work out with Patricia." Olivia remembered Patricia, the wealthy woman Christopher had left her for. "What a shame," she said without a hint of sincerity. "Olivia, we can start over. I can help you expand the restaurant. I have connections, money to invest. I already have a partner, thank you. But this Nathan is just a partner. I can be so much more than that." At that moment, Nathan walked into the restaurant for his daily visit. Olivia immediately stood up, feeling immense relief. "Christopher, this is Nathan, my partner. Nathan, this is Christopher, my ex-husband." The two men exchanged cold greetings, tension instantly filling the air. "Nice to meet you," said Christopher, sizing Nathan up from head to toe. "The pleasure is mine," Nathan replied, already disliking what he saw. "Well, I should get going," Christopher said, standing up. "Olivia, think about what we discussed. You know where to find me." He left money on the table, but not before gripping Olivia's hand possessively and whispering, "I won't give up easily." Once Christopher was gone, Nathan sat down with Olivia. What kind of conversation was that? "He wants me back," she said, still in shock. "After abandoning you when you needed him most." "Exactly. He said he made a mistake, that he's a different man now." "And you believe that?" "Of course not. Christopher only shows up when it serves him." Nathan fell silent for a moment, clearly bothered. "Olivia, can I ask you something personal?" "Go ahead." "Do you still have feelings for him?" The question caught her off guard again. She looked at Nathan, seeing the uncertainty in his eyes. "Nathan, I thought I'd made it clear." "Made what clear?" "That the one who brought me back to life was you, not him." Nathan smiled, relief washing over his face. "I'm glad to hear that." "Why would you be glad?" "Because I have something to confess too." "What?" "It's not just gratitude I feel for you, Olivia." They locked eyes, finally admitting the feelings that had been growing for months. "I feel something more too," she admitted. "But I'm scared." "Scared of what?" "That it won't work out. That you'll get tired of me. That I'll lose everything again." "Nathan, look at me," he said, taking her hand. "I'll never abandon you, no matter what happens." "How can you be so sure?" "Because you saved me just as much as I saved you. Before you came along, I was just existing. Now I'm really living." Tears welled up in Olivia's eyes, but this time they were tears of happiness. "So, we're two people who saved each other," she said. They leaned in slowly, and when their lips finally met, it felt like all the pieces of their lives had fallen into place. Christopher, however, wasn't ready to give up so easily. In the days that followed, he started showing up at the restaurant regularly, always polite but persistent. He offered help, exaggerated compliments, and tried to create moments alone with Olivia. One evening, he appeared just as the restaurant was closing, claiming he'd forgotten something. "Christopher, we're closed," Olivia said, alone, as she finished cleaning the kitchen. "I know, sorry, but I needed to talk to you privately. We have nothing to talk about." "Olivia, you're making a mistake being with this Nathan." "What mistake?" "He doesn't know you like I do. He doesn't know what you like, what you need." "And you do?" "Of course I do. We were married for 5 years. And you left me when things got hard. I've apologized for that 1,000 times. No, Christopher, you haven't apologized once. You justified, explained, but never admitted you were wrong." Christopher changed tactics, stepping closer. "Fine, you're right, I was wrong, completely wrong, and I'm truly sorry." "Too late. It's never too late when there's real love." "What love, Christopher? You don't love me. You just want what you can't have." "That's not true." "Yes, it is. If the restaurant had failed, if I were still struggling, you wouldn't even show up here." Christopher stayed silent because he knew she was right. "Olivia, give me a chance to prove I've changed." "No. Please. Christopher, I'll be very clear. I don't want you in my life. Not as a husband, not as a friend, not as anything. You made your choice 10 years ago. Now I've made mine." "Is it because of Nathan?" "It's because of me. Because I finally learned my worth." Christopher left angry, but Olivia felt an enormous lightness. She had finally closed that chapter for good. Nathan arrived a few minutes later, worried after seeing Christopher's car on the street. "Are you okay?" he asked. "I'm great. Better than great." "What did he want?" "Another chance, but I made it clear that's never happening." Nathan kissed her, relieved. "I'm glad you made that clear to him. And to me." "Nathan?" "Yes?" "I love you." It was the first time either of them had said those words. Nathan smiled, his heart overflowing with happiness. "I love you too, Olivia. More than I ever thought possible to love someone again." Christopher, however, didn't take rejection easily. He decided to change tactics and began investigating Nathan's life, looking for anything he could use against him. He hired a private detective to dig into Nathan's business dealings, personal life, anything that could damage his relationship with Olivia. The detective found something interesting. Nathan was facing financial difficulties in his construction company. Some contracts had been cancelled, and he was using his own money to keep Flavor House running without Olivia knowing. Christopher saw an opportunity and decided to act. One afternoon, he showed up at Nathan's office. "Mr. Parker, can we talk?" "Christopher, what are you doing here?" "I came with a business proposal." Nathan invited him into his office, curious but wary. "I know your company is struggling," Christopher said bluntly. "How did you find that out?" "I have my connections." "And I also know you're funding the restaurant with your own money." Nathan tensed up. That information was extremely private. "What do you want?" "I want to help. I can inject capital into your company, take over some contracts, solve your financial problems." "And in exchange?" "In exchange, you walk away from Olivia." Nathan almost laughed at the audacity. "Are you serious?" "Dead serious. Nathan, you're a smart man. You must know you can't keep this up forever. Sooner or later, Olivia will find out you're spending your savings on her restaurant. The restaurant is ours. We're partners. But you're the one covering the losses, and when she finds out, how will she feel? She'll think she's a burden, that she's weighing you down." A chill ran through Nathan's stomach because he knew Christopher had a point. "Besides," Christopher continued, "Olivia always comes back to me. It's a pattern. She gets involved with other people, but in the end, she always realizes I'm the one for her." "That's a lie." "Is it? Then why did she stay with me for 5 years, even if I was as terrible as she claims?" Nathan didn't know how to respond. "Think about my offer," Christopher said, standing up. You save your company and spare Olivia the guilt over your financial situation. It's a win-win for everyone. After Christopher left, Nathan sat alone in his office, tormented by what he'd heard. He really was using his savings to keep the restaurant afloat, and he really had hidden it from Olivia. Was Christopher right? Would Olivia feel like a burden if she found out? Would it damage their relationship? That night, Nathan came home quieter than usual. Olivia noticed something was different. "Did something happen at work?" she asked. "Why do you ask? You're acting strange. Worried." Nathan hesitated. Should he tell her about Christopher's visit? About the financial troubles? "It's just work," he finally said. "Are you sure?" "I am." But Olivia didn't believe him. She knew Nathan well enough to tell when he was hiding something. The next morning, she decided to go to his office to bring him lunch and try to find out what was going on. When she arrived, the secretary greeted her with a strange expression. "Mrs. Olivia, I'm so glad you're here. Maybe you can talk to Dr. Nathan. He's been very stressed since yesterday." "Why?" "I'm not sure, but I overheard him on the phone talking about contract issues, money." Olivia felt a tightness in her chest. Nathan was having financial problems and hadn't told her. She walked into his office without knocking. Nathan was on the phone arguing with someone about overdue payments. "Nathan," she said when he hung up. "Olivia, what are you doing here?" "I brought lunch, but now I want to know what's going on." "Nothing serious, just some minor issues with the company." "What kind of issues?" Nathan sighed, knowing he couldn't hide it anymore. "A few contracts were cancelled. I'm having cash flow problems." "And why didn't you tell me?" "Because I didn't want to worry you. Nathan, we're partners. In the restaurant and in life. These things affect me too." "I know, but what?" Nathan struggled to find the right words. "Olivia, I need to tell you something. The restaurant still isn't making enough profit to sustain itself. I've been putting in my own money to keep it running." Olivia felt like she'd been punched in the gut. "How long?" "From the beginning." "Nathan, why didn't you tell me?" "Because I wanted you to focus on the kitchen, on what you do best. The finances were my problem." "But I'm your partner. I have a right to know." "You do, and I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner." Olivia sank heavily into a chair, processing the information. "How much money have you put into the restaurant?" "That doesn't matter." "Of course it matters, Nathan. How much?" "About $300,000. Olivia turned pale. It was a lot of money. "And now, with the problems at your company, you can't keep covering it." "Yes, I can. I'll figure it out." "No, Nathan, that's not fair to you." "Olivia, please." "I'm going to close the restaurant." "No." "Yes, I am. I can't let you ruin yourself for me." "You're not ruining me. The restaurant is an investment, one that's been losing money for months." Nathan stepped closer, trying to calm her. "Olivia, listen. Businesses take time to stabilize. The restaurant is growing. The customer base is increasing. In a few more months, we'll be in the black. And if we're not, we will be." "But what if we're not, Nathan? Will you keep losing money until you're broke?" "I won't be broke." "How can you be sure?" Nathan didn't know what to say because the truth was he wasn't sure of anything. Olivia left the office devastated. Everything she believed in, all the security she'd built, was crumbling again. When she got home, she found Christopher waiting at the door. "Olivia, I'm glad you're here. We need to talk." "I don't have the patience for you today, Christopher." "It's about Nathan." Olivia froze. How did Christopher know she'd fought with Nathan? What about him? "Can I come in? It's better if we talk inside." Against her better judgment, Olivia let him in. "Nathan's been keeping things from you," he said as soon as they sat down. "What do you mean?" "He's going bankrupt, Olivia. His company is broke, and he's using his personal savings to fund the restaurant." "How do you know that?" "I have my contacts in the business world, and I also know he'll never admit it to you out of pride." Olivia Jenkins fell silent, confirming that Christopher was right. "The question is, how long will you let him sacrifice himself for you?" "I'm not letting him." "I didn't even know about it until today." "But now you do, and what are you going to do?" "I don't know." "I know what you should do." "What?" "Accept my offer. I can save Nathan's company and take over the restaurant. He'll be free of financial troubles and you can keep cooking. And in return? In return, you come back to me. Olivia looked at Christopher, seeing the clear manipulation in his eyes. You planned all this, didn't you? What do you mean? You found out Nathan was in trouble, talked to him, and now show up here offering a solution that clears your conscience and brings me back to you. Christopher smiled, not denying it. I've always been strategic, you know that. You're a disgusting manipulator. Maybe, but I'm offering the only real solution to your problem. The only solution is to close the restaurant and waste all the work you've put into it, all your father's dreams. Olivia hated to admit it, but Christopher knew exactly where to hit to hurt her. Think about it, Olivia. With my help, you can keep the restaurant running without hurting Nathan. And who knows, over time, we might find happiness together again. We were never happy together. Yes, we were. In the beginning, before everything got complicated. Olivia stood up, signaling the conversation was over. Get out of my house, Christopher. I'll leave, but think about what I said. You have until tomorrow to decide. Or what? Or I'll find other investors for the restaurant, and maybe they won't be as generous as me. After Christopher left, Olivia sat on the couch and cried. She was trapped between hurting Nathan or giving in to Christopher's blackmail. Nathan came home a few hours later, finding Olivia still upset. Olivia, about today's conversation. Nathan, we need to close the restaurant. We're not closing anything. Yes, we are. I can't let you ruin yourself for me. You're not ruining me. Yes, I am. $300,000, Nathan. You spent $300,000 on me. I invested $300,000 in our future. What future? The restaurant isn't making a profit. It will, it just needs more time. Time that could cost you everything you've built in life. Nathan moved closer, trying to calm her. Olivia, listen to me. I don't care about the money. I care about you, about us, about what we've built together. But I care. I can't live knowing I'm driving you to bankruptcy. You're not driving me anywhere. We're building something together. Nathan, what if it doesn't work? What if the restaurant never turns a profit? It will. But what if it doesn't? Nathan fell silent because he didn't have a definitive answer. See, Olivia said, you're not sure either. Olivia, business always involves risk. Nothing in life is guaranteed. But risking your own money is one thing. Risking the money of someone you love is another. They stayed quiet for a long moment, each lost in thought. What do you want me to do? Nathan finally asked. I want you to be honest with me. Always. About everything. All right. From now on, I'll tell you everything about the restaurant's finances and the company. And if things get really bad, we'll make decisions together, including the possibility of closing the restaurant. Nathan hesitated. Including that possibility. Olivia took a deep breath, feeling a little better. Thank you. That's what I needed to hear. The next morning, Christopher called Olivia. So, have you decided? I have. And what's your decision? I'll talk to Nathan about accepting your financial help, but without your personal conditions. Olivia, I've already explained that the two things come together. Then there's no deal. You're making a mistake. Maybe, but it's my mistake to make. Christopher hung up angrily, but didn't give up. He decided to go straight to Nathan again. Mr. Parker, can we talk one more time? Christopher, we have nothing to discuss. I'm sure Olivia already told you about our conversation yesterday. She did. And she also told me she refused your offer. She's being stubborn. She won't accept help because she doesn't want to get back with me. But what about you? Will you let your pride destroy everything you've built? My pride isn't the issue here. Yes, it is. You don't want to accept my help because I'm her ex-husband. But think rationally. I have the money you need, and you have the business that could work. Why not keep personal and professional matters separate? Nathan had to admit there was logic in the proposal. What exactly are you offering? Enough investment to save your company and stabilize the restaurant. In return, I become the majority partner in the restaurant. And the personal conditions? We set those aside for now. First, we settle the business. Nathan knew he was being manipulated, but he also knew he didn't have many options. "I need to talk to Olivia before making any decision." "Of course, but don't take too long. Opportunities like this don't come every day." When Nathan told Olivia about Christopher's new proposal, she was torn. "Do you think we should accept?" she asked. "I don't know. Financially it makes sense, but I don't trust his intentions." "Neither do I. But Nathan, if this can save your company..." "My company isn't more important than our relationship, but one doesn't exclude the other. If we accept his partnership in the restaurant, but make it clear our personal lives aren't up for discussion, do you think he'll respect that?" "I think we don't have much choice." Nathan fell silent, weighing the options. "All right," he finally said. "We'll accept the offer, but with very clear conditions on boundaries." "What conditions?" "He can be a partner in the restaurant, but he has no say in our personal lives. And if he crosses that line even once, we dissolve the partnership. Even if it means losing the investment?" "Even then." Olivia agreed, and they called Christopher to communicate their decision. "Excellent," Christopher said. "We'll sign the contracts tomorrow." "Christopher, before that we need to make one thing very clear," Nathan said. "What?" "This is strictly business. Our personal lives are not part of the deal." Of course, I completely understand." But in Christopher's tone, both Nathan and Olivia could tell he wasn't sincere. The contract signing took place at Nathan's lawyer's office. Christopher arrived promptly, accompanied by his own lawyer and all the necessary paperwork. The investment was indeed substantial. Christopher would take 60% of the restaurant and also provide an emergency loan to Nathan's company. "Everything checks out," Nathan's lawyer said after reviewing the documents. "The terms are clear and fair." Nathan and Olivia signed the papers, sealing a partnership neither of them truly wanted, but that seemed like the only way out. "Now we're official partners," Christopher said, shaking Nathan's hand and kissing Olivia's cheek possessively. "Just partners," Nathan reinforced. "Of course, just partners," Christopher replied with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. With Christopher's money, Nathan managed to stabilize his company, and the restaurant finally became financially secure. But Christopher's constant presence in the day-to-day business began creating tensions. He showed up at the restaurant every day, giving his opinions on the menu, questioning Olivia's decisions, and always finding an excuse to stay close to her. "Christopher, you don't need to come here every day," Olivia said one afternoon. "Trust our work." "I do trust it. But as the majority partner, I have the right to oversee things closely." "Majority partner doesn't mean micromanager." "I'm not micromanaging, I'm participating." "Participating too much." Christopher smiled, that smile she knew all too well. "Olivia, admit it. You like having me around again." "I don't." "Yes, you do. I can see it in your eyes." "What you see in my eyes is irritation." "No, it's nostalgia, missing the good times we had." Olivia stepped back, uncomfortable with his closeness. "Christopher, let's keep things professional." All right, but I can't help remembering how happy we were together." "We weren't happy." "Yes, we were. In the beginning, at least." "The beginning was 15 years ago, Christopher. We are different people now. I'm different, better, more mature. And I'm with Nathan. For now." His reply caught Olivia off guard. "What do you mean, for now?" "Nothing, just a comment." But Olivia knew Christopher never made random comments. There was always a strategy behind them. That night, she told Nathan about the conversation. He said, "For now?" Nathan asked. He did. Like he knows something, I don't. That's strange. "Nathan, do you think we made the right choice accepting his money?" "Financially, yes. Personally, I'm not sure yet. He's acting like he owns my life along with the restaurant." "Don't let him think that." "I'm trying, but he's very persistent. If it becomes unbearable, we'll dissolve the partnership. And how do we pay him back?" Nathan had no answer. In the following days, Christopher increased his presence at the restaurant. He started bringing friends for dinner, always introducing Olivia as my ex-wife, the chef of the restaurant. One evening, he brought a group of important local businessmen. "Gentlemen, let me introduce Olivia Jenkins, the best chef in Cleveland." And coincidentally my ex-wife, he said proudly. Olivia was embarrassed by the introduction but kept her professional composure. Pleasure to meet you, she said. I hope you enjoy the meal. I'm sure we will, one businessman replied. Christopher won't stop talking about your talent. And about our history together, Christopher added. We were married for 5 years, unforgettable times. Olivia forced a smile and retreated to the kitchen, uncomfortable with how Christopher was exposing her personal life. During dinner, she could hear Christopher telling stories about their marriage, always painting a romantic picture that didn't match reality. Are you two getting back together? One guest asked. You never know, Christopher replied. True love always finds a way back. Olivia nearly dropped the pan she was holding when she heard that. After the guests left, she confronted him. What was that about true love always finds a way back? Oh, you heard that, he said, unbothered. I did, and I didn't like it. Why? It was true. Christopher, how many times do I have to say it? I'm with Nathan. And I respect that, but I can't control how I feel. You can control what you say. I won't lie about my feelings to please you. I'm not asking you to lie. I'm asking you not to use our past as personal marketing. Personal marketing? That's what you were doing. Using our story to impress your friends. Christopher was silent for a moment. All right, he finally said. I'll be more discreet. But Olivia knew that wouldn't be the last time he crossed the line. The following week, Christopher showed up at the restaurant with a surprise. He had hired a marketing team to promote Flavor House. What's this? Olivia asked when she saw the professionals setting up equipment for a photo shoot. Professional marketing, Christopher replied. We're going to make Flavor House the most famous restaurant in the area. Christopher, you should have consulted us first. I did. I talked to Nathan yesterday. Olivia was surprised. Nathan hadn't mentioned anything about it. And what did he say? That he thought it was a good idea. When Nathan arrived at the restaurant and saw the commotion, he realized there had been a misunderstanding. Christopher, when you mentioned marketing, I thought it was just some simple photos. And it is. Simple photos of the chef and the space. This doesn't look simple, Nathan said, eyeing the amount of equipment. Trust me, I know what I'm doing. The photo shoot was long and elaborate. The photographer asked Olivia to pose in various ways, cooking, serving dishes, smiling at the camera. Now a photo with the partner, the photographer said. Christopher immediately stood next to Olivia. No, Nathan said. I'm the main partner. Oh, sorry, Christopher said. I thought it was me. You're the majority partner, I'm the main partner. They're different things. Of course. But when Nathan stepped in for the photo, the photographer looked confused. Sorry, but Mr. Christopher told me he was the main partner. Nathan glared at Christopher angrily. There's been a misunderstanding, Nathan said calmly. I'm Nathan Parker, founding partner of the restaurant. And I'm Christopher Peters, majority partner and the chef's ex-husband, Christopher added, deliberately provoking. The photographer looked even more confused, but decided to take photos with both partners. After the marketing team left, Nathan confronted Christopher. What was that about you being the main partner? It was a misunderstanding. I said majority partner, he misheard. And the part about being the chef's ex-husband? It's a fact. I can't hide it. You don't have to hide it, but you also don't have to highlight it all the time. Nathan, I won't pretend I don't have a history with Olivia, just to make you feel better. I'm not asking that. I'm asking for respect for the boundaries we set. What boundaries? I only told the truth. Olivia, who had overheard the argument, decided to step in. Enough. You're both acting like children. Olivia, Nathan began. No, let me speak. Christopher, you're constantly overstepping. And Nathan, you're letting this affect you more than it should. How can I not be affected? Nathan said. He keeps promoting himself as your ex-husband all the time. And you keep reacting like it's a threat, Olivia shot back. Nathan, you're my boyfriend. You're the one I love, not Christopher. I know that. Then stop acting like you don't. Nathan took a deep breath, realizing she was right. You're right. I'm sorry. And you, Christopher, Olivia continued, turning to her ex-husband. Stop using our history as a marketing strategy or to poke at Nathan. It's not professional and it's not fair. Fine, Christopher said. I'll behave. But Olivia knew that promise wouldn't last long, and she was right. The next day, Christopher showed up with another surprise. He had scheduled an interview with a local food magazine to talk about Flavor House. What interview? Olivia asked. For the magazine Cleveland Flavors. They want to do a feature on the restaurant. And why didn't you consult us first? I called Nathan, he approved it. Olivia immediately called Nathan. Nathan, did you approve an interview for a magazine? What interview? Asked Nathan, confused. Christopher said you authorized an article for Cleveland Flavors magazine. I didn't authorize anything. He asked me if I thought an article would be good for the restaurant, and I said yes, but I didn't authorize anything specific. Olivia hung up the phone, furious. Christopher, Nathan didn't authorize any interview. He said he thought it was a good idea. That's not authorization to schedule an interview. Olivia, relax. It's free publicity for the restaurant. That's not the point. The point is you made a decision without consulting the other partners. As the majority partner, I have autonomy for certain decisions. Having autonomy doesn't mean steamrolling the others. All right. Next time I'll consult you first. The journalist arrived an hour later, a young and enthusiastic woman who had clearly done her research on the restaurant. Mrs. Olivia, what a pleasure to meet you, she said. I read about the history of the original Flavor House and its reopening. It's truly inspiring. Thank you, Olivia replied, already wary of where the conversation might go. And Mr. Christopher, I understand you were married and are now business partners. Doesn't that create complicated situations? Olivia shot Christopher an irritated look. He had clearly shared personal details with the journalist. Actually, Nathan interrupted, having just arrived, I'm the primary partner of the restaurant. Christopher is a recent investor. Oh, I see, said the journalist, checking her notes. But Mr. Christopher told me you had an equal partnership. Not exactly, Nathan said calmly. And what about the personal relationship between Mrs. Olivia and Mr. Christopher? The journalist pressed. There is no personal relationship, Olivia said firmly. We're strictly business partners. But you were married. We were, in the past. Today I'm with Nathan, and our relationship with Christopher is purely professional. The journalist seemed disappointed by the lack of drama in the story. I see. And what about the restaurant's future plans? From there, the interview continued normally, focusing on the cuisine and expansion plans. But Olivia was annoyed by how Christopher had presented the situation to the journalist. After the reporter left, she confronted Christopher again. What did you tell her about us? Just the truth, that we were married and are now partners. You made it sound like we have an equal partnership. We do. We don't. Nathan is the founding partner. You're an investor, with a majority stake. That doesn't mean decisions are yours alone. Christopher sighed, showing impatience. Olivia, I'm trying to promote the restaurant. I'm investing time and money into this. The least I expect is a little support. You'd have my support if you stopped making these moves behind our backs. What moves? Interviews without consulting us, photo shoots without warning, unilateral decisions. That's not how partnerships work. Fine, from now on I'll consult on everything first. Olivia didn't fully believe the promise, but decided to give him another chance. In the following days, Christopher actually changed his behavior. He started consulting on all decisions, stopped mentioning his past romantic involvement with Olivia, and acted more professionally. Nathan began to relax, thinking they'd finally found balance. But Christopher was just shifting strategies. Instead of confronting them directly, he began working more subtly. He constantly praised Olivia's work, defended her when Nathan questioned decisions, and positioned himself as her ally in the business. Olivia is right, he'd say whenever there was a discussion about the menu. She's the chef, she knows what she's doing. Christopher, you don't even understand cooking, Nathan would reply. I don't need to. I trust her judgment. Gradually, Christopher managed to create a dynamic where he and Olivia were always on the same side, and Nathan seemed to be the opponent. Olivia took a while to realize what was happening, but Nathan noticed quickly. "He's manipulating the situation," Nathan said to Olivia one evening. "What do you mean?" "Every time we have a discussion about the restaurant, he takes your side, even when he doesn't understand the subject. Maybe he's just respecting my experience. Or maybe he's trying to create a divide between us." "Nathan, don't you think you're being paranoid?" "Maybe, but I have a bad feeling about this." Olivia didn't take Nathan's warning seriously until something happened that opened her eyes. Christopher showed up at the restaurant on a day when she was especially stressed. A large order had been cancelled at the last minute, and she was worried about finances. "What's with the long face?" Christopher asked. "I'm worried. The Johnson Company's order was cancelled. It was a big weekend delivery." "How much were you expecting to make from it?" "About $5,000. "Don't worry, I'll cover the difference." "What do you mean?" $5,000. I'll deposit it into the restaurant's account." "Christopher, I can't accept that." "Of course you can. We're partners, remember? But this would be a personal favor, not a partner's contribution. It's a contribution to keep the cash flow stable." Olivia hesitated. $5,000 would make a difference right then. "Nathan needs to know about this," she said. "Sure, you can tell him." But when Olivia told Nathan, he grew suspicious. Why would he do that? To help the restaurant? Or to create a situation where you feel indebted to him? "Nathan, you're seeing malice where there isn't any." "Am I?" "Olivia, look at the pattern. Christopher always shows up with solutions to problems you're facing. He always positions himself as your savior. And what's wrong with that?" "The problem is he's trying to take my place in your life." Olivia fell silent, starting to see the situation from a different angle. "You might be right," she admitted. "I might be. The question is, what are we going to do about it? We'll refuse the money. And how will we cover the loss from the cancelled order? We'll figure it out, without his help." Nathan agreed, but both knew the financial situation was getting tight again. The next day, Olivia approached Christopher to decline the money. "Christopher, thank you for the offer, but we won't need the $5,000. "Are you sure? I thought you were struggling." "We're handling it another way." "What other way?" "That's not your concern." Christopher smiled, but it was a cold smile. "Of course it's my concern. I'm the majority partner." "Majority partner doesn't mean absolute owner." "No, but it means I have the right to know how you plan to solve financial problems." Olivia realized Christopher was changing his tone again. "We'll figure it out. Don't worry." "Olivia, you need money. I have money. Why complicate things?" "Because we don't want to owe you." "What debt? We're partners." "Christopher, thank you, but we don't need it." "Fine," he said, but his tone suggested he hadn't given up. That afternoon, Christopher did something neither of them expected. He showed up at the restaurant with a group of investors. "Olivia, Nathan, I'd like to introduce some friends who are interested in investing in Flavor House." "Investing how?" Nathan asked, suspicious. "Franchises. They want to open Flavor House locations in other cities." Olivia and Nathan exchanged glances, surprised. "Have you thought about franchises?" one investor asked. "Not yet," Olivia replied. "The restaurant barely turned a year old." "But it already has a strong brand," another investor said. "The story of the reopening, the quality of the food, the chef's name. It has all the makings of a success. How much would you be willing to invest?" asked Christopher. "Depending on the franchise model, we could be looking at around 500,000 reais per unit," replied the first investor. Olivia nearly choked. 500,000 reais per franchise was a lot of money. "It's an interesting proposal," said Nathan carefully, "but we'd need to study it calmly." "Of course," said Christopher, "but don't take too long. Opportunities like this don't wait." After the investors left, Nathan confronted Christopher. "Where did these investors come from?" "They're business contacts of mine." "And you didn't think you should consult us before bringing them here?" "I did. I mentioned I had contacts interested in franchises. You mentioned it in passing. You didn't say you were bringing them here today." "Nathan, you're being too resistant to growth opportunities." "I'm not being resistant. I'm being cautious." "Too cautious." "Olivia, what do you think?" Olivia felt pressured to take sides between the two. I think, Ian, it's an interesting opportunity, but Nathan is right about needing caution. See, said Nathan. She agrees with me. She agrees it's an interesting opportunity, Christopher countered. Olivia realized she was being used in their argument. Stop it, she said. You two are acting like children fighting over a toy. Olivia, Nathan began. No, I'll decide about the franchises after studying the proposal carefully. And you two will stop using me as a referee for your fights. Nathan and Christopher fell silent, acknowledging she was right. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a restaurant to run, she said, heading back to the kitchen. That evening, Nathan came home worried. Olivia, I need to tell you something about those investors. What about them? I did a quick search on them online, found almost nothing. What do you mean? Shell companies, fake addresses, social media profiles created recently. You think they're fake? I think Christopher set this all up. Why? To pressure you into accepting his other proposals. If you think you're missing out on opportunities, you might be right, said Olivia, starting to see the manipulative pattern. Olivia, I think it's time we end the partnership with Christopher. What about the money he invested? We'll find a way to pay him back. How? We don't have 500,000 Rs saved up. We'll take out a bank loan. With what collateral? Nathan fell silent because he knew their financial situation wouldn't allow for such a large loan. Olivia, we can't go on like this. Christopher is manipulating everything, creating situations to control us. I know, but I don't see an easy way out. Then we'll make a hard way out. How? We'll expose his manipulations, confront him directly. What if he decides to ruin the restaurant out of revenge? It's a risk we'll have to take. Olivia was silent for a long moment. All right, she finally said. We'll confront him. But we do it together. Together, Nathan agreed. The next day, they scheduled a meeting with Christopher at the restaurant after hours. What's this serious meeting about? Christopher asked when he arrived. We need to talk about the partnership, said Nathan. What about the partnership? It's not working, Olivia said bluntly. Christopher, you've been crossing lines constantly. What lines? Making unilateral decisions, manipulating situations, creating unnecessary conflicts. I don't do any of that. Yes, you do, said Nathan, and we'll prove it. Nathan pulled out a folder with notes he'd taken. First, you scheduled the magazine interview without consulting anyone. Second, you hired the marketing team without consulting anyone. Third, you brought in the investors without consulting anyone. Third and a half, added Olivia, you always take a stand against Nathan in discussions, even when you don't understand the subject. And fourth, continued Nathan, these investors you brought in are fake. Christopher paled for a moment but quickly composed himself. Fake how? Shell companies, non-existent addresses, fake social media profiles. You might have researched wrong. I might have, but I didn't. Christopher, you created these investors to pressure Olivia into accepting your proposals. Christopher was silent for a few seconds. So what if I did, he finally said. What's the problem? The problem is that it's manipulation. It's not manipulation, it's business strategy. Christopher, you've crossed a line, said Olivia. This is no way to treat partners. Partners? Christopher laughed. Olivia, don't you get it yet? Get what? I don't want to be your partner. I want to be your husband. Again. The confession left Nathan and Olivia stunned. All of this, Christopher continued, was to show you I can give you what Nathan can't. Financial security, growth opportunities, stability. Christopher, Olivia began. Nathan almost drove you to bankruptcy. Christopher interrupted. I brought you back to prosperity. Who do you think loves you more? Christopher, you're delusional, said Nathan. Am I? Olivia, answer me. Were you better off before or after I came back into your life? Financially better, Olivia admitted, but emotionally much worse. That's temporary. Once you accept that we're meant to be together, everything will fall into place. We are never getting back together. Yes, we are, because you love me. I don't. You do. That's why you accept my help, why you don't dissolve the partnership, why you tolerate my presence. Olivia fell silent, realizing Christopher had a twisted point, but a point nonetheless. "You're confusing tolerance with love," she finally said. "Am I?" "You are." "Christopher, I tolerate you because I need your money. That's not love, it's necessity." "What's the difference?" "The difference is that love is a choice. Necessity is an obligation." "Then why don't you send me away?" "Because—" Olivia stopped, realizing she didn't have a simple answer. "Because you still feel there's something between us," Christopher said, seizing her hesitation. "There's nothing between us but history." "History is everything, Olivia. It's what connects us. History can also be what divides us." Nathan, who had stayed quiet during the argument, finally spoke. "Christopher, I'll be very clear. Olivia may have doubts about her feelings, but I have none about mine. I love Olivia, and I'll fight for her." "Fight with what weapons?" Christopher asked. "You don't have the money to compete with me. I have something better than money." "What?" "I have her heart." Christopher laughed sarcastically. "Her heart." "Nathan, you're living in a romance novel. In the real world, money is power, and power gets the woman." "That's the most chauvinistic thing I've ever heard," Olivia snapped. "Chauvinistic, but true," Christopher replied. "Olivia, would you rather have a man who loves you but can't support you, or a man who can give you everything you've ever wanted?" "I'd rather have a man who respects me." "I do respect you." "No, you don't. You treat me like a trophy to be won." "Because you are my trophy. You always have been." "I'm no one's trophy." "Of course you are. You're beautiful, talented, you cook like an angel. Any man would be proud to have you by his side." "Christopher, you're not listening. I don't want to be anyone's trophy. I want to be an equal partner. You can be my partner, in life and in business." "You don't want a partner. You want a subordinate." "That's not true." "Yes, it is. Look at how you behave at the restaurant. Making decisions on your own, using me to create conflicts with Nathan, manipulating situations. All of that was to win you back. It was to control me." Christopher fell silent, realizing his strategy had been exposed and rejected. "Fine," he finally said. "If that's how you feel, maybe it's best I step away from the business." "What do you mean?" asked Nathan. "I'll sell my share in the restaurant." "To whom?" "To you, if you can come up with the money, or to other investors." "What other investors?" "The ones I brought the other day might not be real, but others exist, real ones." "Christopher, what are you saying?" asked Olivia. "I'm saying Flavor House is worth much more today than when I invested. If you want me out, you'll have to pay market price." "And what price is that?" $1 million. Nathan and Olivia were stunned. "$1 million," repeated Nathan. "You invested $500,000 less than a year ago. And I helped turn a small restaurant into a valuable brand. That comes at a cost." "Christopher, this is blackmail," said Olivia. "It's not blackmail, it's capitalism. You know we don't have $1 million. Then you'll have to accept me staying as a partner. And as the majority partner, I have rights." "What rights?" "I can sell my share to whoever I want, and I can choose buyers who won't necessarily keep you in management." The threat was clear: accept my presence or lose control of the restaurant completely. "Are you really willing to destroy what we built just for revenge?" asked Olivia. "It's not revenge. It's business strategy. You're the ones making it personal." "We're making it personal?" Nathan exploded. "You admitted this whole act was to win Olivia back. And I'll admit it again, I love Olivia and want her back. But if she doesn't want to come back, at least I want my investment respected." "Christopher," said Olivia, trying to stay calm, "let's find a solution that's fair for everyone." "What solution?" "I don't know yet, but it can't be $1 million or you continuing to manipulate our partnership." "Then what do you propose?" Nathan and Olivia exchanged glances, realizing they had no concrete proposal. "We need time to think," said Nathan. "How much time?" "A week." "Fine, 1 week. But after that, Either you accept my terms or I sell my share to other investors. Christopher left, leaving Nathan and Olivia desperate. What are we going to do? Asked Olivia. I don't know, but we'll find a way. How? We don't have $1 million, we can't take out a loan that big, and we can't let Christopher sell his share to strangers. Olivia, I'm going to ask you a hard question. What? Do you still feel anything for Christopher? The question caught her off guard. Why are you asking that? Because I need to know if I'm fighting real feelings or just manipulation. Olivia stayed silent for a long moment. Nathan, Christopher was my first love, my first husband, the first person I dreamed of having a family with. It's impossible for me to feel nothing. Nathan's heart tightened. But, she continued, what I feel for him is nostalgia, longing for what was, or what could have been, not love for who he is today. And who is he today? A manipulative, possessive man who thinks he can buy what he wants, including me. And with me? What do you feel with me? With you, I feel what I never felt with Christopher. Real partnership, mutual respect, mutual. Love that grows every day instead of love that fades with problems. Nathan breathed a sigh of relief. Then let's fight together to fix this. How? Let's see if Christopher has any weaknesses. If we find something he doesn't want exposed, maybe we can negotiate. What kind of thing? I don't know. Financial troubles, legal issues, anything that could damage his reputation. Nathan, isn't that a little unethical? It's business strategy, he said so himself. Olivia smiled for the first time in days. All right, let's investigate. In the following days, Nathan discreetly hired a private investigator to look into Christopher's life. He wanted to know about his business dealings, finances, and relationships. Meanwhile, Olivia tried to keep the restaurant running as usual, but the tension was obvious to all the staff. Frank, her father's former partner who now worked as manager, approached her one afternoon. Olivia, can I ask you something? Of course. Is something going on with the partnership? The staff can sense the tension. Olivia hesitated about whether to tell him. We're going through some adjustments in the partnership, she said diplomatically. Is this about Christopher? Why do you ask? Because he was here yesterday after closing, going through office papers. Olivia was alarmed. What papers? I don't know, but he was photographing documents. Frank, are you sure? Yes, I saw it on the security camera. Olivia immediately called Nathan and told him what she'd learned. He was photographing documents? Nathan asked. That's what Frank saw. What documents would he want to photograph? Contracts, financial records, recipes, or information about us? What do you mean? Olivia, if Christopher is planning to sell his share or blackmail us, he needs leverage. Maybe he's gathering data to use against us, or to show potential buyers. Either way, it's not right. He can photograph documents related to his own investment, but nothing else. What do we do? First, we change the office locks. Second, we review all the documents to see if anything's missing. Third, we confront him about it. You think we should confront him? I do. If we let it slide, he'll keep doing it. The next morning, they changed the locks and added an extra lock to the file cabinet. They also asked Frank to keep an eye out for Christopher outside business hours. When Christopher showed up at the restaurant that afternoon, Nathan confronted him immediately. Christopher, we need to talk. About what? About you being here after hours, going through documents. Christopher didn't seem embarrassed. As the majority partner, I have the right to access all company records. You have the right to request access, not to rummage through files in secret. I wasn't sneaking around. I came in on my own time and photographed documents. How do you know that? Security cameras. Christopher smiled coldly. Fine. Yes, I photographed some documents. So what? So that's not standard procedure for partners. Maybe I'm not a standard partner. You're definitely not. Nathan, I'll be direct with you. I'm gathering information to evaluate my investment. What kind of information? Actual profitability, growth potential, business risks, To sell your share? Possibly. To whom? Whoever makes the best offer. Olivia, who had been listening, stepped in. Christopher, who would even be interested in buying your share? Food industry entrepreneurs, restaurant investors, even big chains looking to expand. Big chains? Yes. Imagine Flavor House becoming a national franchise, your recipes served in hundreds of cities. That wasn't my father's dream. But it could be yours. Olivia, you could become one of the most famous chefs in the country. I don't want to be famous. I want a restaurant that honors my father's memory. One thing doesn't exclude the other. It does. If I sell to a chain, I lose control over the quality, the ingredients, over everything that makes Flavor House special. But you'd make a lot of money. Not everything in life is about money, Christopher. No, but money solves a lot of problems, including your problem with me. What do you mean? If I sell to a chain, they'll probably offer to keep you on as managers, with fixed salaries, no risks, no financial worries. And no control over our own business, Nathan added. Nathan, do you really prefer control over a business that could go under at any moment? I prefer control over my own life. And what if the life you control can't support the woman you love? The question hit Nathan hard because it touched on his deepest fears. It can, Olivia said before Nathan could respond. Our life sustains our happiness. Money is a consequence, not the goal. How poetic, Christopher said sarcastically. But poetry doesn't pay the bills. Our bills are being paid. For now. Christopher, where are you going with this? Nathan asked. I'm getting to a final offer. What offer? You buy my share for $800,000, or I sell to a chain for $1.2 million. $800,000 is still a lot of money for us. It's less than $1 million, but it's still impossible. Then I sell to the chain. What chain? Olivia asked. I already have interested contacts. Real ones this time? Completely real. I can set up a meeting this week. Nathan and Olivia exchanged glances, realizing Christopher was serious. Christopher, Olivia said, give me 1 more week. For what? To see if I can gather the money. How? I don't know yet, but give me this chance. Christopher was silent for a moment. Fine, 1 more week. But after that, I move forward with the sale to the chain. What if I can only get part of the money? What part? $500,000. What you originally invested. Olivia, I've already explained the restaurant has appreciated. $500,000 is what I put in, not what it's worth now. But it's a fair amount. Fair to who? To me, who worked to increase its value. You didn't work to increase its value. You worked to win me over. Same thing. No, it's not. Because winning me over was your personal goal. Increasing the business's value was a side effect. Christopher considered the argument. Fine, he finally said. I'll accept $500,000 if you can get it in a week. Really? Really, but only if it's within a week. After that, the price goes back to $800,000. Olivia and Nathan agreed, but they knew a week was hardly enough time to raise $500,000. How are we going to get that money? Nathan asked once Christopher left. I don't know, but we'll try. Olivia, be realistic. We don't have enough assets to secure a loan that size. Maybe I can sell something. What do you have that's worth $500,000? Olivia fell silent because the answer was obvious. She had nothing. Nathan, what if we ask others for help? What others? Frank, Deborah, my father's old clients. Olivia, we're talking about $500,000. This isn't a small fundraiser among friends. I know. But if we pool together enough people, even if we convinced 50 people to lend us $10,000 each, it'd still be a miracle. Then what do you suggest? Nathan was thoughtful for a moment. Olivia, I'll make you an offer. What? Let Christopher sell to the chain. What do you mean? Let's see what the chain offers. If it's good, maybe it's worth considering. Nathan, have you lost your mind? Lost. That means losing control of the restaurant. Not necessarily. We can negotiate to stay on as managers with control over the menu and operations. And if they don't give us control, then we refuse and look for other options. What other options? I don't know yet, but at least we'll know what our real choice is. Olivia hesitated, but agreed to hear the chain's proposal. Christopher scheduled the meeting for 2 days later. The interested chain was American Flavors, a company that operated restaurants nationwide. Their representative, a man named Derek Simpson, arrived promptly and well prepared. "Mrs. Olivia, Mr. Nathan, it's a pleasure to meet you," he said. "I've been following the success of Flavor House and am very impressed." "Thank you," Olivia replied, wary. "The proposal we have is quite appealing. We want to acquire the rights to the Flavor House brand and open locations in at least 20 cities over the next 3 years." "How would that work for us?" Nathan asked. "You'd both serve as consultants for the chain. Mrs. Olivia would be the head consultant, developing recipes and training other chefs. Mr. Nathan would be the operations consultant." "And the salaries?" Olivia asked. "For Mrs. Olivia, $40,000 a month. For Mr. Nathan, $28,000 a month." Olivia nearly choked. It was far more than they made from the restaurant. "And would we have control over the recipes?" she asked. "Full control. In fact, one condition of the contract is that no recipe can be modified without your approval." "What about the original restaurant?" "It would continue running as is. You'd keep managing it, but as a franchise of the chain." "Sounds too good to be true," Nathan said. "Why would it be?" Derek replied. "You have what we need. Excellent recipes, an inspiring story, and local market expertise. We have what you need: capital for expansion and the structure for nationwide growth." Olivia looked at Nathan, seeing he was tempted by the offer. "What if it doesn't work out after a while?" she asked. "The contract can be terminated at any time by either party with 6 months' notice." "And the rights to the recipes, would they return to us?" "The recipes you created before the contract, yes. Those developed during the contract would remain shared." "How long do we have to decide?" Nathan asked. "A week would be ideal. We have other opportunities under review." After Derek left, Nathan, Olivia, and Christopher discussed the proposal. "What do you think?" Christopher asked. "It's tempting," Nathan admitted. "It's terrifying," Olivia said. "Why terrifying?" Christopher asked. "Because it means giving up my father's dream. Flavor House wasn't meant to be a national chain." "Olivia," Nathan said, "your father wanted you to succeed. If going national is success, success for who? For the chain, making millions off our recipes? For you, too. $170,000 a month is a lot of money." "Money isn't everything, Nathan." "It's not everything, but it solves a lot of problems." Olivia fell silent, realizing Nathan was swayed by the offer. "Christopher," she said, "did you plan this from the start?" "What do you mean?" "Setting all this up to force us into accepting the chain's offer." "Olivia, I connected with the chain through contacts. I didn't plan anything." "But you knew it was a way out of this mess." "I knew it was a possibility that benefits you, because you get $1,200,000 and I lose control over my father's legacy." "You're not losing the legacy, you're expanding it." "It's not the same." Nathan stood, clearly frustrated. "Olivia, what's the alternative? Owing Christopher $200,000 and risking bankruptcy at any moment. The alternative is finding a way to buy his share without selling our souls." "How?" "I don't know, but there has to be a way. In 5 days, because that's all the time we have." "In 5 days." Nathan sighed. "All right, let's try. But if we can't, do you promise you'll seriously consider the chain's offer?" "I promise." Christopher smiled, knowing it would be practically impossible to get $500,000 in 5 days. "Then it's settled," he said. 5 days for you to get the money, or I accept the chain's offer." That night, Nathan came home discouraged. "Olivia, I need to tell you the results of the investigation I did on Christopher." "What did you find?" "Nothing incriminating. His businesses are legitimate. His finances are in order. No legal issues. Nothing we can use to negotiate. Nothing. What now?" "Now we do what we promised. Try to get the money in 5 days." "How?" "We'll start by asking for help from people we know." For the next 3 days, Nathan and Olivia ran a marathon trying to secure loans. They reached out to friends, former clients, suppliers, even distant relatives. Frank managed to scrape together $15,000. Deborah, still trying to make up for past mistakes, got $5,000. Some loyal clients lent between $1,000 and $3,000 each. By the end of the third day, they had only gathered $53,000. "We're still short $447,000, Nathan said, looking at the numbers on paper. "It's impossible," Olivia admitted. "Olivia, I think it's time to accept the chain's offer." "Nathan, do you really want me to do this? I want you to be happy, and if being happy means letting go of an ideal for financial stability. Financial stability isn't happiness. But poverty isn't either." Olivia fell silent because she knew Nathan was right. "What if we try negotiating better terms with the chain?" she suggested. "What terms?" "Full autonomy over the original restaurant. They can use our recipes for the franchises, but the flavor house here stays ours. Do you think they'll agree?" "It's worth a try." On the fourth day, they called Derek to propose a contract change. "Derek, we'd like to suggest a modification to the offer," Nathan said. "What modification?" "We want to keep full ownership of the original restaurant. You can use our recipes for the franchises, but this restaurant remains ours." "Interesting. Let me check with the board, and I'll get back to you." An hour later, Derek called back. "The board approved. You keep ownership of the original restaurant, and we expand the brand with franchises." "And the amounts stay the same?" Olivia asked. "They do. 100,000 for you, 70 for Nathan, plus the buyout of Christopher's share for 1.2 million. Nathan and Olivia exchanged glances. It really was an offer hard to refuse. "Do we have until tomorrow to decide?" Nathan asked. "You do." That night they stayed up late discussing the decision. "Nathan, do you think my father would approve of this?" "I think your father would approve of anything that brought you happiness and stability, but spreading his recipes all over the country, isn't that every chef's dream, for their recipes to be known and loved by as many people as possible?" "Maybe. Olivia, let's be practical. With $170,000 a month, we can have the life we've always dreamed of. We could even think about having children." The mention of children struck a chord. Olivia had always dreamed of being a mother, but financial instability had made her postpone it. "Do you really want to have children with me?" she asked. "I do, very much, but not while we're in this constant financial battle." "And with the chain's contract, we'd have stability for that." "We would." Olivia stayed silent for a long moment. "All right," she finally said. "Let's accept the offer. Are you sure?" "I am. My father built his legacy with love. If we can spread that love across America, maybe it's even better than keeping it confined to one place." Nathan kissed her, relieved they'd finally found a solution. "When do we tell Christopher?" he asked. "Tomorrow morning." The next day they called Christopher early. "Christopher, we've made our decision." "And what is it?" "We're accepting the chain's offer." "Excellent. I'll call Derek and arrange the contract signing." "Christopher, before that, I want to tell you something." "What?" "You got what you wanted. Us out of your life, you rich, no complications. I hope it's worth it." "Olivia, I still think we're making a mistake. We could have been happy together." "We could have been if you were a different person. But you are who you are. And who you are isn't compatible with who I am today. Who you are today was shaped by the hardships you faced. If I'd never gone through that, I'd never have met Nathan. And meeting Nathan was the best thing that ever happened to me." Christopher was silent. "All right," he finally said. "I'll arrange the contract signing for this afternoon." "Christopher?" "Yes." "Thank you." "For what?" "For forcing me to make a decision that, deep down, will be good for us. Without your pressure, maybe we'd have stayed in that limbo for years." "You're welcome, I guess." The contract signing took place in Derek's office. Besides Nathan, Olivia, and Christopher, lawyers from all sides and 2 directors from American Flavors were present. "Welcome to the American Flavors family," Derek said once everyone had signed. "Thank you," Olivia replied. "I hope it's a long and prosperous partnership." "I'm sure it will be," one of the directors said. "We're already planning the first 5 locations: New York City, Los Angeles, Chicago, Miami, and Boston." "When do you want me to start training?" Olivia asked. "Next week, if that works for you." "Perfect. Christopher received his check for $1,200,000 and bid them farewell. Olivia, Nathan, it's been a pleasure doing business with you. Wishing you great success in this new chapter. Thank you, Christopher, Olivia said. And sorry if things got tense at the end. It's part of it. Business is business. And your personal life. Any plans? Yes, I'll travel a bit, see the world. Maybe when I come back, I'll have a different perspective on relationships. I hope so. Christopher left, and for the first time in months, Olivia felt truly free. How do you feel? Nathan asked. Light, very light. Regrets? No. Excited. Excited? To see where this takes us, to start this new chapter of our life. Our life, Nathan repeated, smiling. I like the sound of that. 6 months later, the first Flavor House franchise opened in New York City. Olivia personally trained the kitchen staff, ensuring every dish maintained the original quality. The grand opening was a massive success. Lines formed outside the restaurant, and every dish sold out before the end of the first day. Your father would be proud, Nathan said, hugging Olivia as they watched the crowd. You know what moves me the most? She said, tears streaming freely. Seeing people have the same reaction they did at the original restaurant. That smile of satisfaction, that surprise at the flavor. It's because love is in the recipe, Nathan replied. And that doesn't get lost no matter how many franchises there are. Just then, a young woman approached them with a huge smile on her face. Sorry to bother you, but are you the owners of the original Flavor House? We are, replied Olivia. My grandmother lived in Cleveland about 15 years ago. She always talked about Mr. Roberts' restaurant, how his food tasted like home. When I heard you were opening here in New York City, I couldn't believe it. And now, tasting it, it's exactly how she described it. Olivia had to hold back tears in front of the young woman. What was your grandmother's name? Mrs. Elizabeth Simpson. Of course I remember her. She always ordered the shrimp risotto with the special sauce, said it reminded her of her childhood in the countryside. That's right. Exactly. The young woman began to cry too. She passed away last year, but she always said she'd return to Flavor House one day. I think somehow she was here with me today. Nathan watched the scene, moved, realizing this was the true magic of what they were building. It wasn't just about money or business success. It was about connecting people through memories and flavors. In the following months, the other franchises opened one by one, each with the same success. Olivia traveled across the country training teams, sharing not just recipes, but the philosophy behind each dish. Nathan joined her whenever possible, handling operations and ensuring quality remained consistent in every location. One afternoon, as they returned from a trip to Miami where they'd opened the 5th franchise, Nathan asked a question he'd been holding on to for weeks. Olivia, do you remember when we talked about having kids? I do. Why? I think it's time to make it a reality. Olivia looked at him, her heart racing. Are you sure? I am. We're financially stable, our business is thriving, our relationship is strong, and most of all, we have so much love to give. Nathan, She paused, emotional. I've been thinking about it too, especially after seeing how our story inspires others. I want our children to grow up knowing it's possible to rebuild life after hardship. So, shall we try? Let's. They kissed right there in the Miami airport, sealing another important decision in their lives. 3 months later, Olivia discovered she was pregnant. The news came on a special morning, exactly 2 years since she'd climbed through Nathan's kitchen window. Nathan, she called from the living room holding the pregnancy test. Come here. What's wrong? He rushed downstairs, worried by her tone. Look at this. She showed him the test, her hands shaking with emotion. Nathan stared at the positive result and was speechless for a few seconds. Really? He asked, his voice choked. Really? He picked her up and spun her around the room, both laughing and crying at the same time. I can't believe we're going to be parents, he said, still spinning. Yes, you can. And you'll be the best father in the world. And you'll be the best mother. They stopped spinning and looked into each other's eyes. Nathan, There's something I want to tell you. What? Thank you. For what? For giving me a chance that afternoon. For believing in me when even I didn't. For fighting for us when everything seemed impossible. Olivia, I'm the one who should thank you. You saved my life just as much as I saved yours. How? Before you, I was just existing, working, paying bills, fulfilling obligations, but I wasn't really living. You brought me back to life. So we saved each other. We did. And now we're going to save one more little life. Nathan placed his hand on Olivia's still flat stomach. Hi, baby, he said, talking to her belly. It's Daddy. I can't wait to meet you and tell you the amazing story of how your mom and I found each other. Olivia laughed, but was also moved by the moment. You know what makes me happiest, she said. What? Our son will grow up hearing the story of Flavor House. He'll know about his grandfather Robert, whom he never met, but he'll understand the legacy he left behind. And he'll grow up knowing that no matter how tough the problems are, there's always a way to overcome them. Exactly. That same week, they decided to share the news with the most important people in their lives. They started with Deborah, who had become almost like a mother to Olivia. Deborah, we have some news to share, Olivia said when the housekeeper arrived for work. What news? I'm pregnant. Deborah dropped her bag on the floor and rushed to hug Olivia. Oh my goodness, what joy, she cried happily. I'm going to be a grandma. Not exactly a grandma, Nathan laughed, but you'll be the closest thing our child will have. Oh, this is so emotional. Deborah couldn't stop crying. Doctor, Nathan, can I say something? Of course. When Olivia climbed through your window that afternoon, I thought it was the end of the world. Now I see it was the beginning of all the good that's happened in this house. Deborah, Olivia began. No, let me speak. I almost ruined everything with my past, with my mistakes. But you both gave me a second chance. And now I'll get to watch a child grow up who was born from this beautiful story. You're part of our family, Nathan said, and you'll be part of our son's family too. Can I be the godmother? Deborah asked hopefully. Of course you can, Olivia replied. I can't think of anyone better to be the godmother of a child born from a story of redemption. Frank was also moved by the news. As the general manager of all the franchises, he was always close to the couple. Congratulations, boss, he said to Olivia. This baby is going to be born surrounded by so much love and so much good food. And surrounded by plenty of stories too, Nathan added. He'll learn early how life can take incredible turns. It's true. Who would have thought that girl I watched grow up in Robert's restaurant would become a national businesswoman and a happy mother? Life really is full of surprises, Olivia agreed. They also told Derek and the team at American Flavors, who were thrilled. We'll have to adjust the travel schedules, Derek said. We don't want Olivia overworking herself during the pregnancy. Thank you for understanding, she replied. I can keep doing the trainings, but maybe at a slower pace. Of course. The health of the next generation of Flavor House is our priority. During the pregnancy, Olivia and Nathan took the time to reorganize their lives. They turned one of the house's rooms into a nursery, bought everything they needed, and most importantly, talked a lot about the kind of parents they wanted to be. I want our son to understand the value of things, Olivia said one night as they folded baby clothes. I agree. Even though we have money now, I don't want him growing up spoiled. I want him to work at the restaurant when he's a teenager, like I did with my dad. To learn responsibility, to learn that everything in life comes at a price, and that honest work is the only way to earn what you want. What if he doesn't want to go into the culinary field? Then he can follow whatever path he chooses. The important thing is that he learns to work for his dreams. Do you think we should tell him about Christopher? Olivia grew thoughtful. We'll tell him the truth, that I was married before, that it didn't work out, but that it taught me important lessons about what I did and didn't want in a relationship. And about how he tried to break us apart. We'll tell him that when he's older, so he learns to recognize manipulation and blackmail. Good idea. One afternoon when Olivia was 7 months pregnant, they had an unexpected visitor. Christopher showed up at the original restaurant. Hi, Olivia, he said, more humble than ever. Christopher, what are you doing here? I heard you're pregnant. I came to congratulate you. Thank you. And I also came to apologize. Apologize? For what I did, for how I behaved. You were right. I was trying to control you, not win you over. Olivia was surprised by his sincerity. What made you change your mind? Therapy. A lot of therapy. And the trip I took. I met people, different cultures, and realized I was living very selfishly. I'm glad you came to that conclusion. Olivia, can I ask you for something? That depends on what it is. I want to apologize to Nathan too, and I want to wish you both all the happiness in the world. Nathan arrived at that moment, saw Christopher and tensed up. Nathan, Christopher said before he could speak, I came to apologize for what I did, and to congratulate you both on the baby. Nathan looked at Olivia, who nodded reassuringly. Apology accepted, Nathan said, and thank you for the congratulations. You two deserve all the happiness. You've built something beautiful together. Thank you, Olivia said. And you? How are you? Good. Different but good. I'm living in England now, running a small business there. Nothing grand but honest. That's good. And who knows, maybe one day I'll find someone who accepts me for who I really am, not who I pretend to be. I'm sure you will, Olivia said sincerely. Christopher said goodbye politely and left, this time for good. Do you really think he's changed? Nathan asked. I do, or at least I believe he's trying to change, and that's progress. It's good to close this chapter peacefully. It really is. 2 weeks later, Olivia went into labor on a Saturday morning. Nathan rushed her to the hospital, calling Deborah on the way. Deborah, it's time. We're heading to the hospital. Oh my God, I'm on my way. The labor lasted 8 hours. Nathan stayed by Olivia's side the entire time, holding her hand and encouraging her. Almost there, love, he said. Our baby is almost here. I'm scared, Olivia confessed between contractions. Scared of what? Of not being a good mother. Olivia, you're going to be an amazing mother. Look at everything you've overcome in life. Look at how you care for the people you love. This baby will be so lucky to have you as their mom. And you as their dad. We'll take such good care of them. At 5:30 in the afternoon, Robert Nathan was born, a healthy baby boy weighing 7.5 pounds. When the doctor placed him in Olivia's arms, she cried like never before. Hi, my love, she whispered to the baby. I'm your mommy, and this handsome man beside me is your daddy. Nathan was crying too, gently touching his son's little face. Hi, Robert Nathan, he said. Welcome to the world, my son. Robert Nathan, Olivia repeated. Robert in honor of my father, and Nathan in honor of the man who changed my life. And what's his last name? Jenkins Parker, to carry both of our stories. Perfect. Deborah arrived at the hospital 2 hours later, carrying flowers and gifts. Where's my godson? She asked eagerly. Right here, Olivia said, showing her the peacefully sleeping baby. Oh, what a beautiful little thing, just like his father, but with his mother's eyes. You think so? I'm sure of it. Can I hold him? Of course. Deborah cradled the baby carefully, as if he were the most precious thing in the world. Hi, Robert Nathan, she murmured. Your godmother is here to protect and spoil you so much. Frank also showed up at the hospital, bringing a bouquet of flowers and a card signed by the entire restaurant staff. How's the heir to the culinary dynasty, he joked. Sleeping and eating, Nathan laughed. His two favorite activities so far. Just like his mom when she's developing new recipes. Hey, protested Olivia, laughing. In the following days, the news of the birth spread quickly. Longtime customers of Flavor House sent gifts, franchise employees mailed cards, and even Derek and the network team made a point to visit. This baby was born into a very special family, said Derek, watching Robert Nathan. He'll grow up hearing amazing stories. He sure will, agreed Olivia. And I hope those stories inspire him to build his own incredible story. When they finally returned home with the baby, Nathan and Olivia sat on the couch watching Robert Nathan sleep in the portable crib. I can't believe we made it this far, said Olivia. What do you mean? 2 years ago, I was hungry, homeless, hopeless. Today I have a family, a thriving business, and a beautiful son. Life really takes surprising turns. You know what moves me the most? What? Thinking that if I hadn't seen that open window that afternoon, none of this would have happened. None of it. Maybe I would have starved. Maybe you'd still be living alone in this house. Maybe my father's legacy would have been lost forever. But the window was open. It was, as if fate had arranged it all, or as if your father was watching over you from above. Olivia smiled, liking the idea. Do you think he's met his grandson? I'm sure he has, and that he's proud of everything you've built. Everything we've built. That's right, we. Robert Nathan stirred in the crib, making a sweet little noise. They both rushed to check on him. He's smiling, whispered Olivia. Newborns don't really smile yet. This one is. Look. Nathan watched his son and had to admit it did look like a smile. Maybe he's dreaming of something good, he suggested. Or maybe he's feeling all the love around him. Could be. They stayed there, the three of them, forming the family neither had imagined possible 2 years earlier. 3 months later, the American Flavors Network opened the 10th Flavor House franchise, this time in Washington, D.C. Olivia couldn't travel as she was breastfeeding, but she followed everything via video call. How was the opening? She asked Derek when he called at the end of the day. Amazing. A line 2 blocks long, all dishes sold out in 4 hours, and many customers asking when you'll visit the location. We'll visit once Robert Nathan is a little older. He can come along. People would love to meet the new generation. That might be a good idea. Nathan came home from work just then, finding Olivia on the phone with the baby in her arms. How was your day? He asked, kissing them both. Great. Robert Nathan slept well, nursed well, and barely cried. And the opening in Washington, D.C.? A success. Derek said it was one of the best openings yet. That's wonderful. Your father would be proud to know his recipes are being enjoyed in the nation's capital. Not just enjoyed, loved. Derek said several customers mentioned they'd never eaten food so flavorful and comforting. That's the power of love in cooking. Exactly. That night, after putting Robert Nathan to bed, Nathan and Olivia sat on the porch to talk. Olivia, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you regret anything that's happened these past 2 years? Not a thing. And you? Me neither. Even the hard parts with Christopher taught me important lessons. Like what? Like fighting for who I love. Like not letting others control my life. Like valuing what truly matters. That's true. Christopher, unintentionally, forced us to strengthen our relationship. Exactly. Without the pressure he created, maybe we'd never have talked about our future plans. Or about having children. Or about accepting the chain's offer, which ended up being the best decision we ever made. So in a way we should thank him. In a very distant way, yes. They laughed, relaxed and happy. Nathan? Yes? I've been thinking about something. About what? About writing a book. About what? About our story. About how sometimes the bad things that happen in life are actually paths to something much better. Do you think people would be interested in our story? I think so. Everyone goes through hardships. Everyone has felt lost, hopeless. Our story shows there's always a way out. And what would the title be? I'm not sure yet. Maybe The Open Window, or A Recipe for Starting Over. Or How to Turn Hunger into Love. That's a good one too. Olivia, if you write this book, I'll help you with the business side of the story. Really? Really? I think our story could inspire so many people going through tough times. So, should we write it together? Let's do it. Robert Nathan started crying in the bedroom, interrupting their conversation. I'll get him, said Nathan, standing up. Bring him out here. The night air will do him good. Nathan returned with the baby in his arms. Robert Nathan stopped crying as soon as they stepped onto the porch, as if he loved the setting. He likes being out here, Olivia observed, just like his parents. We've always loved talking on this porch. This is where we've made all our big decisions, and where we'll make many more. Olivia looked at Nathan holding their son and felt her heart overflow with gratitude. Nathan? Yes? Thank you for leaving the window open that afternoon. Honestly, I don't even remember leaving it open. I think it was the wind. Or fate. Or your father watching over you. Or all of those things together. Could be. The important thing is that it was open at the right time. For the right person. For the right people, Olivia corrected, looking at Robert Nathan. That's true. For the right family. They stood there, the three of them, watching the stars and planning their future. A future that had begun with an open window, hunger and despair, but was now filled with love, prosperity, and hope. 2 years later, Robert Nathan was taking his first steps in the kitchen of the original Flavor House, always supervised by his parents and thoroughly spoiled by Deborah, Frank, and the whole team. The book. The Open Window, a recipe for starting over, had been published and become a bestseller, inspiring thousands across the country. The American Flavors chain now had 25 franchises nationwide, with plans to expand across South America. Olivia was pregnant again, this time with a girl who would be named Hope Rebecca Jenkins Parker. Hope because it meant light, and Rebecca in honor of Nathan's first wife. And it had all started with a hungry woman who saw an open window and found the courage to step through. As Olivia always said when telling the story, sometimes salvation is an open window. Other times, salvation is having the courage to walk through it. End of story. And now, dear listener, tell us, what did you think of this story of resilience and love? Do you believe Olivia made the right choices along the way? And Nathan, was he truly the right man for her? Share your honest thoughts in the comments. We love reading your reflections on our stories. Don't forget to like if the story moved you, and most importantly, subscribe so you won't miss other incredible tales like this one. Thank you for joining us on this heartfelt journey.